What I want to do in this presentation is cover 4 areas. I'm going to talk fairly briefly about what I see as the challenge facing companies all over the world, whatever sector they're operating in today. I'm then going to talk about the implications of that, which is what we talk about as value chain thinking. I'll then talk about value chain management. Once you've learned to think a new way, if you believe that you need to, then that would have implications for the way you take decisions. That's where the value chain management comes in. And if you think that value chain management makes sense, then it's how do you do it? And that's where the key success factors come in. And then I'll wrap up with a couple of slides at the end. To begin with then, the challenge. So sustainability. 3 elements of sustainability: economic, environmental and social. And here you have the poor shopper. So these are issues that challenge governments, that challenge CEOs and organisations, and daily shoppers are asked to behave much more like citizens and much less like consumers as they go about making decisions about which products to buy. That complexity, my proposition is, means that there are few, if any, organisations that can cope. The whole principle of value chain thinking is about extending the line of sight in pursuit of a sustainable competitive advantage, which means that the ants, businesses, individuals within organisations need to work far more collectively and get the process working more efficiently. So it requires cross-functional and multidisciplinary teams to recognise their very specific tasks in achieving the specified objective, which in this case might be lunch or afternoon tea that we're going to scavenge from this picnic that we've spotted. But from my perspective, the majority of companies, organisations, government departments and senior managers are coming from a world where they're trying to survive in a vehicle that looks something like this, the supply chain model, which is, these are our products, these are our services, they're coming your way, and we're pushing them as hard as we can. And if you're big and powerful, you can get so far by pushing stuff. If you're weak, like pretty much all the farmers in the world are, upstream suppliers, highly fragmented of pretty insignificant commodities, it's very hard to make that work for you economically. So this poor farmer's having a really hard time trying to push this supply chain with square wheels, a bumpy ride. These people aren't having much fun. They're not very happy. In a supply chain world, relationships are fundamentally adversarial. We don't enjoy each other's company as we get offered things that we didn't necessarily ask for. In an adversarial climate, information flow is very weak. And the nature of information that flows between organisations is very transactional. So the kind of paradigm shift that we're looking for is very simple in principle. We put some rubber on the wheels that go from squares into circles, and we have this vehicle, which we're calling the value chain, being pulled, managed by the most important link in the chain for everybody, which is the final consumer of the product or service. That is the consumer, whoever he or she may be, with people having happy faces, and the actual primary producer now part of the team, as opposed to being somebody trying to push their product on service or services on unwilling victims. So, and in that kind of world, then what have you got? You've got much richer relationships. Yeah, we're part of a chain that is succeeding, growing, because we're giving consumers what they want. With those kinds of relationships, the flow of information is much richer. If I trust you, I'm much more likely to share information with you. But what are we trying to achieve through value chain management? We're trying to achieve 3 things. We're trying to take out cost by removing uncertainty. The more dialogue there is between the people that buy things, the people that consume things. And we need to do that faster than the competition. And now we've got the fact that you need to do that, add more value at lower cost, faster than the competition, without destroying the planet. So as companies wake up to the fact that by measuring things we didn't measure before, our carbon footprint, we might find ways of saving money. So the first success factor, I think, is strategic alignment. So imagine what these people might feel. So here's a pair of friends, these could be suppliers of course, that have been practicing for months for their very important tennis match at the weekend, and they turn up to play tennis, and they discovered that the opposition came prepared to play a completely different game. How could that happen? Is that nonsense? Of course it's not nonsense. There could have been casual conversations between businesses about balls and sports, even rackets and bats. The assumptions made here is that we all know what game we're playing. And when it comes to playing the game out, we're not playing the same game at all. The second success factor, information flow. So the captain is busy ploughing their furrow, or in this case, driving their boat, completely unaware of the impact that small changes in their strategic decision-making might have, or even small changes in operational decisions might have on the chain. So these suppliers getting thrown out of their boats in the wake of a dominant channel captain who chooses not to share information with them. That is like saying, that order for 200 units that we're expecting tomorrow, make that 400, or worse still, make it 50. Having no idea what the impact that has on the sustainability of suppliers. So what crazy bird would approach, the powerful crocodile with a spring in their step? That's a bird that seems quite happy to approach a rather dangerous-looking crocodile. And of course, trust is a fundamental part of collaborative relationships. And so often people talk about trust as one big thing. And there's that competency. Can I trust you to do what you've said you really wish to do? And there you have it. The reason that bird was so confident about approaching that very dangerous crocodile with the spring in its step was that breakfast was coming. And that crocodile has some stuff to get removed from its teeth. And it didn't want to have that discomfort. So there's a synergy here and interdependence. The crocodile can't clean its teeth, and the bird can't feed without crocodile. I need you as much as you need me. So interdependence is a two-way street in the same way that trust is. Once you've got that interdependence thing going, which of course you can't do with everybody, back to our CRM and our SRM, you can't be developing relationships like this, hunky-dory commitment with everybody, which means you need to understand who your important customers are. You need to understand who your important suppliers are. So have you got suppliers who enable you to do things more efficiently, that enable you to move things more quickly, that enable you to add value and differentiate? The fourth key success factor is consumer insight. So often it takes a brave business who says, we don't want to sell products to that person. Value proposition is absolutely critical. So, an obvious case, the kids, the pensioners, we're not trying to please them both at the same time. Organics is a great case, because we're led to believe that the problem with organics is they're too expensive. Then you delve a bit deeper and you ask, why do people buy organics? So the empty nesters. I've got more disposable income, I'm older, and I'm going to treat myself. And when I treat myself, it's going to be with organic, because that organic mushroom, those organic fish cakes, that organic bread, it's to die for. Who are these people here? A massive market for organic food. Young mothers who believe that organic food will protect their children. And then this one over here, she does need to go on a diet, but the point is, for this kind of consumer, organic is healthier. My argument is the majority of those three segments are not fundamentally driven by price. And yet, the common perception is, you've got to get your costs down. I'd say no, get your costs up and be much smarter at targeting these groups with organic products and services that meet their needs. But you've got to mind the gap, because what people say and what they do are different things. So we need to change consumer behaviour. We need to identify where these people are that are willing to buy these differentiated products and services, to raise their awareness, increase their knowledge, understand why you're full enough to buy my product than somebody else's, change their attitudes, move me away from brand X towards brand B. So changing attitudes doesn't go far enough. You've got to help people. So the value chain principle here is getting everybody in the chain understanding what it is that people want and making it easier for them to get on board, to buy your product, not theirs, to buy your service, not the competition's. The gap, huge gap. We think that just by changing attitudes, we change behaviour. Not so. So, creating the enabling environment. How do you fill that gap? I'm nearly there. Creating the enabling environment. So here we've got Caveman. I love this one. So, a critical element to making it easier for people to do the things that you want to do, buy your product, pay you more, share information, and make it easier for them. So give them a compelling reason why. A carefully targeted offer. It's cold in these parts of the world, yeah, and have I got a deal for you? The Mammoth Carpet Sale. This is a very unambiguous offer. It's chilly. We've got a really good deal for you. Once you've clearly targeted what it is that your product or service is to whoever it is that you want to sell it to, then you need to communicate it effectively. All companies understand this stuff and they do it. No, they don't, because in my experience, most companies dominated by the sales director, usually male, believe it's all about distribution. And it's all about a generic product that appeals to lots of people at very low prices, which means it's not communicated effectively at all. And then the third one is that once you've communicated the unbelievable proposition to this target market, if you're still struggling to see what on earth has it got to do with the chain, well, you have to deliver that consistently. Oops, and it's not. Yep, and that's what happens. For my money, if you focus on that generic offer and you're not quite sure about what everybody else is doing, you could be undone. Because you may have been genuine in your offer with this amazing rug that was going to keep everybody warm. You hadn't realised that the price you were supplying your suppliers meant they cheated on you. And now your brand is the one that suffers because your suppliers have cheated on you. So, you know, where is the focus? We've got watches for everybody, you name it. And how many disappointed customers have we got? By not understanding that they want different things. That's where the consumer insight comes in. We don't want to be standing on street corners. The role of the wholesale distributor is rapidly disappearing because what they do is provide the block in the flow of information. They don't add value, they add dysfunctional conflict. Conclusion number one, I'm not quite sure if I've communicated this strongly enough, is that assumptions are the mother of all cock-ups. And what on earth has that got to do with swans and cavaliers or something? Well, there was a time when all the swans in the world were white, until we discovered Australia, where many, many centuries ago, hence the cavaliers, we discovered that some swans were black. So, don't make assumptions about what people want, what they need, what they do, or why they do it. And that means, I think, that this looks like the conga, that the blind are leading the blind. They might be doing the conga, but they're going to end up somewhere not very nice. And we call that place, you know what it is, it's the commodity trap. So if we make assumptions about what people want, the safest assumption to make is that everyone wants the same thing for less money. So we get the chain geared up for doing the same thing. The blind lead the blind into a dark and dismal place. The race to the bottom, that is the commodity trap. It is about behaviour change. It's about changing the behaviour of individuals and organisations along the chain. It's about changing the behaviour of consumers, your customers, your colleagues in the workplace, your suppliers. And to do that, this weird contraption, you need to listen much more carefully to what people say. You've got to look much more closely at what people do, and you've got to speak much more clearly to people about their behaviour and how you want them to change it. Thanks very much.